This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
African Union member nations resolve to restore constitutional order. Cyclone Batsirai kills at least 10 in Madagascar, destroying homes and cutting power. And South Africa's Back River estuary named as 28th wetland of international importance. This is Africa Live. Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Peninah Karibe. Also coming up, Tunisian government keen to strengthen economic cooperation with China. In sports, Senegal claim maiden AFCON title after hard-fought victory over Egypt. African Union member states have been discussing a series of military coups on the continent. During the AU annual Heads of State meeting that concluded Sunday, the incoming rotating chair and Senegalese President Macky Sall said rigorous actions must be taken against those who attempt an unconstitutional change of government. The African Union is the continent's leading body on peace and security matters. Here's CGTN's Gurum Chala with the details.
This year's summit, as usual, was dominated by peace and security issues of Africa. But more particularly, the growing and worrying trend is unconstitutional change of governments. AU's incoming chairperson, Macky Sall, who is also president of Senegal, said Africa must begin taking tough measures against any military takeover.
In my view, it is for the African Union to work. So measures should become more rigorous on the unconstitutional change of governments, and the perpetrators of these acts should be brought to book immediately, and the country should suffer also the imposition of sanctions immediately. Embargoes may be closing of borders, airspace. We should be able to solve the problem in a different manner.
The just concluded summit had a theme that calls for more investments in the agriculture sector, as well as taking a collective effort to mitigate climate change and COVID-19 related hurdles. AUC Chair Moussa Faki Mahamat believes despite the challenge faced, the AU is delivering in almost all areas.
Despite the difficulties that the AU and the Commission and all the organs of the AU have faced, we have been able to function and continue our work. The meeting that has just ended has been intense, and we have in fact been questioning our instruments. In fact, we are challenging the leadership of the African continent in an offer to take up boldly the challenges we are faced with.
Currently, the African Union has suspended at least 4 of its member nations due to unlawfully changing their governments. This is a record number since the formation of the continental body. President Sall, however, said there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Africa is not cursed. We do not face difficulties. We obviously have to tighten our belts, try to mutually help each other to fight everything that contributes to delays and keep Africa backwardness.
The AU heads of state have in their decisions taken away the observer's status Israel has been awarded 7 months back by the Commission. The summit has assigned a committee to recommend the way forward on the matter. As usual, many say the AU must exert extra efforts to implement the key decisions passed out of the 35th Assembly of the Union. From making Agenda 2063 a reality in general terms to specifically make sure guns are silent throughout the continent and combat the corona pandemic, Africa has a lot to deliver for real change to be seen on the ground. Gurum Chala, CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
South Africa's Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor says that the country is working with other nations on a unified approach to tackle challenges on the continent. From the COVID-19 pandemic to terror threats and conflict, our reporter Daniel Arap Moi caught up with her to dig deeper into what these issues mean for Africa.
Honorable, South Africa has played a very pivotal role in the fight against COVID-19. What explains South Africa's success in the fight against the pandemic?
Well, I think The success, I mean, of course, Africa has been affected very badly by COVID-19, particularly by the inadequacy of vaccine doses. But I believe that we were able to respond in many areas very effectively because of the leadership of President Ramaphosa as chair of the African Union at the time, but most particularly because President Ramaphosa insisted on a Pan-African approach to the challenge. So he very, very speedily drew together all the leaders of our continent under the auspices of the African Union Bureau and made sure that together they craft a response.
How is South Africa handling the socio-economic crisis facing the SADC region, such as violent extremism in Mozambique and poverty?
Well, we again have framed a SADC response. We have what we call SAMIM, which is the SADC mission in Mozambique, made up of various member states of the SADC region. We agreed that we would deploy members from our forces to assist our comrades in Mozambique to repel this terrorist threat, which is a terrible threat, because we realized that once terrorists gain ground in one country in a region, they then, as we see in West Africa, spread to other parts of the region. And so we wanted to work hard at containing them and having our unified forces exercise that role. Of course, Mozambique also drew in support from Rwanda, and I think this has been also a good experience of inter-regional collaboration, which is the kind of unity we want to see on the continent. So that if I have a problem in my region, it shouldn't just be me who attends to it. Others should be able to come to our assistance, and we should work together to resolve our problems. This is the essence of what the African Union should be doing.
What role is the government of South Africa playing in restoring peace in Africa?
We're doing several things. For example, from my department, with the support of the revenue from our treasury, we run a very, very robust program of African women in dialogue to train women negotiators who can play a role in negotiating for peace, but also who should play a leading role in the post-conflict process, the process of reconstruction. Because we find that women on our continent are often victims of violence, but don't become part of the leadership once peace has been achieved. So we are working throughout the continent. We invite women annually to participate in our Women in Dialogue program, which is this training we provide. But we also, of course, as South Africa, contribute to peacekeeping missions of the United Nations. We're part of the missions in the DRC. We have been involved in Somalia and other parts of the continent. Our major ambition is to support the continent to achieve peace and stability.
China and South Africa have long established bilateral relations. What is your assessment of these ties and their future direction?
The ties remain very strong. South Africa and China have, as you say, a long-established friendship. It's a brotherhood that comes out of a shared collaboration in the struggles against colonialism. And so I think because of that very strong foundation, our friendship continues to grow from strength to strength. I also believe China understands that we need to grow our economy in South Africa, and that to do that, we need enhanced and greater foreign direct investment. China is a large economy, and so we would like to see more Chinese businesses in South Africa. We would like to have increased exports from South Africa to China. This is happening in a very positive way, and we'd like to see more of that, because as South Africa, we need jobs, we need technology, we need higher economic growth. And I believe that the People's Republic of China can play a role in ensuring we achieve these.
Burkina Faso has formed a 15-member commission tasked to create a charter and timetable for the nation's political transition. This was announced by military ruler Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba over the weekend. The task force has a 15-day deadline to propose the charter and duration of the transition. The military says the commission has no connection with the junta and it does not include any political officials. Burkina Faso remains suspended from regional grouping, the Economic Community of West African States. However, ECOWAS has not imposed fresh sanctions on the country, citing that the military government has shown willingness to return to constitutional order. At least 10 people have been killed and nearly 50,000 displaced after a cyclone swept through southeastern Madagascar. The cyclone, named Batsirai, has triggered flooding, cut power and brought down buildings, according to local officials. CGTN's Joy Kirukijuma reports on the second cyclone to hit the Indian Ocean island in just 2 weeks.
Cyclone Batsirai swept inland late on Sunday. Officials say the heavy rains and winds moving at speeds of 165 kilometers per hour were projected could displace over 150,000 people. In the central city of Yanaransoa, the damage to property was evident.
It was early morning. We were still sleeping. The owner of the house came to tell us that water was rising. We got up to move the furniture. All the while, water continued to rise to here. After we went on the other side and the house started to crack, some of our furniture was still upstairs and the cracks started to get worse. And now, some of our belongings have been destroyed by the collapse.
Thank God, no dead have been reported here. But as official representative for this neighborhood, I can say the damage is big. The wind was very strong, and even if people took care to protect their belongings, there has been a lot of damage. Early in the morning, water rose and all the neighborhood was underwater.
Some people have taken refuge in an evacuation center with the full extent of the damage yet to be assessed.
We live on the hill, on the edge of a cliff. The wind was strong, but our house is strong. Early in the morning, there was a landslide. To be safe, the head of the neighborhood told us to go to the evacuation center. That is why we are here.
Only 2 weeks ago, another cyclone, Anna, hit the island, killing 55 people and displacing 130,000 others. The current storm compounding the destruction. Joy Kirukijuma, CGTN.
And to Libya, where Parliament is due to meet and pick a replacement for interim Prime Minister Abdelhamid Dbeibah. His mandate expired in December last year. The move to pick a new Prime Minister could potentially escalate tensions between the country's eastern and western factions in the wake of a failed election. Libya has remained divided since 2011, with two parallel administrations competing for dominance. Elections were to be held in December 2021, but have been pushed to June this year. Prospective candidates for the Prime Minister position are due to appear before the House today. Let's now go to South Africa, which has designated the Berg River estuary in the Western Cape as its 28th wetland of international importance. The move is meant to afford better protection to what it calls its super ecosystems. This is due to their contribution to the provisions of water and because of the environment it provides to migratory water birds. The estuary is also an important contributor to tourism and the local fishing community. CGTN's Travers Andrews has more with this report.
At a length of around 65 kilometers, the Berg River estuary is one of the most important estuarine ecosystems in the Western Cape. It is one of just 4 in the region that always contain water, and now South Africa is marking its importance by declaring it the 28th wetland of international importance.
Although estuaries comprise less than 2% of South Africa's territories. These highly productive ecosystems contribute about 4 billion rand a year to South Africa's economy. They are focal points for the development of tourism and recreation, as well as important for supporting biodiversity, livelihoods, and of course, marine fisheries. The Berg estuary in particular contributes about 60% of the estuarine habitat.
The Berg River estuary is one of 290 estuaries in South Africa and the second to be declared of international importance in just 2 years. It is also an important transition zone and habitat for 250 migratory waterbirds, as well as a contributor to the surrounding fishing village.
Despite their significance to human life, all of our wetlands are threatened. The 2018 National Biodiversity Assessment found that at least 79% of our wetland systems are under threat. Of these, 48% are critically endangered, 12% are endangered, and 5% are vulnerable. About 35% of our wetlands are least threatened.
For now, South Africa is committed to working towards the wise use of wetlands through effective land use planning and appropriate policies that will better protect these natural purifiers of the country's water resources. Over 70% of South Africa's wetlands have no protection at all, and just 11% has some protection. And the move to designate the Berg River a wetland of international importance is seen as a positive step in attempting to close that gap and protecting South Africa's natural heritage. That's the news, CGTN, Berg River, South Africa.
Authorities in Tunisia have said they are keen to strengthen economic cooperation with China. Tunisia is hopeful of an economic growth of 2.6% this year after a pandemic-induced contraction in 2020 and is seeking to boost its trade with China. CGTN's Adned Shawashi has more from Tunis.
The Tunisian Minister of Economy and Planning noted that Tunis and Beijing aim to promote a win-win economic partnership which is based on friendship, goodwill and mutual economic interests.
We hope for this that we can establish partnership with our friend in China, because we know also they are very, very strong and present in China, and I'm sure that we can find a way to create a profitable win-win partnership.
The president of the Arab Institute of Chiefs of Enterprises, IECE, explained that China's economic model inspires many countries seeking economic growth and better management of resources.
The Chinese economic model emanates from a successful vision for the next decades in all sectors. China's local and international companies, as well as its population, benefit from this progress on all levels. It's a very good model to follow for Tunisia to boost exports and achieve sustainable economic growth.
In 2018, Tunisia integrated China's Belt and Road Initiative in order to expand trade and foreign investment.
The Belt and Road Initiative is the most ambitious and successful economic project in modern history. China is building infrastructure and helping states by boosting trade. China is creating job opportunities and encouraging the circulation of goods. Tunisia can be one of the main economic partners in this gigantic project for humanity.
Tunisian economists assert that the Chinese economy has recovered steadily since the pandemic hit the world, following the implementation of efficient COVID-19 containment measures and emergency relief for businesses.
Analysts maintain that Tunisia can also improve its economic indicators this year if it follows China's strategy of post-COVID economic recovery. China was the only major economy to register growth in 2020, which was a difficult year for the global economy. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
You're watching Africa Live. Coming up in sports. Senegal's President Macky Sall declares Monday a public holiday after the country claims maiden AFCON title.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa.
Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
We start in Cameroon, where Senegal are the winners of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations after a 4-2 penalties victory. Sadio Mane netted the winning sport kick as Senegal beat Egypt to clinch their first ever Africa Cup of Nations. The Liverpool forward missed a penalty after only 7 minutes of play thanks to a fine save by Pharaoh's keeper Mohamed Abou Gabal.